The alien prison ship Voidstar floated near a dead star, far from any planet. Inside the ship, everything was silent. No wind, no birds, no sun, only cold metal and blinking lights. Deep inside Voidstar, in a special cell, one prisoner sat alone. He was a human. No chains could hold him, so the aliens had used heavy force fields and energy cuffs. He didn't move. His eyes were open, but he stared at nothing. His body didn't even shake when the ship moved. His name was unknown. The aliens called him Subject 13. 5 aliens stood outside his cell. They wore long white suits and had large, black eyes. They were the Immortals, a race that had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years. They could not die. They had no fear of sickness or time. But now, they were afraid. Is he alive? One alien asked. He hasn't moved in 3 days, said another. He destroyed an entire attack group before we caught him. With no weapons, added a third. The leader of the group, Scientist Vecker, stepped forward. Begin the scan, he said. A bright blue light shone on Subject 13. It read his heart, brain, blood, everything. The results shocked them. No fear signals, the scanner said. No pain signals. Brain activity is strange. What does that mean? Vecker asked. He is awake, but dreaming. Constantly dreaming. Vecker frowned. Of what? No one could answer. One of the young alien scientists, Tiller, stepped closer to the glass wall. Maybe he is broken inside. Maybe he is not dangerous anymore. Tiller pressed a button. The glass door opened slightly. I just want a closer look, he said. Tiller, wait, Vecker shouted, but it was too late. Tiller stepped into the cell. The door closed behind him. Tiller stood in front of the human.
Ken.
You hear me? He asked. Subject 13 slowly looked up. 1 second, 2 seconds. The camera feed blinked. When it returned, Tiller was gone. The human sat alone again. The other aliens froze. Where is he? One asked. The cell was empty, except for the human. Vecker ran to the screen, checked the playback. They rewound the video. It's just 2 seconds of black. In that time, Tiller vanished. No sound. No fight, no blood, gone. VKOR looked at the human on the screen. Subject 13 now had a small smile on his face. That's not possible, one alien whispered. We are immortal. We cannot die. Dao was gone. An emergency meeting was called. He must be some kind of weapon, one alien general said. Human DNA is weak. We have studied millions of them. This one is different. Vecker stood at the center. I have a theory, he said. A dark one. The room went silent. What if he is not just a human? Vecker said. What if he was made for us, designed to kill immortals? That's impossible, another alien shouted. No one can touch our kind. Then explain, Tiller, Vecker replied coldly. Explain how he disappeared. Explain. The smile. No one had an answer. That night, inside the cell, Subject 13 opened his eyes again. He looked straight at the camera. No words, just a stare. The camera crackled with static. A whisper echoed in the ship's speakers. Only one word, soon. In the control room, alarms began to beep. System error. Internal time systems failing, said the ship AI. What's happening? Vecker shouted. We don't know. Time flow is unstable. Some systems are aging. A panel on the wall turned brown. Rust appeared. Rust appeared, real rust. That was impossible. Nothing aged on this ship. Vecker stared at the cell screen. The human didn't move, didn't blink, still smiling. Across the galaxy, immortals were gods. But inside this prison, they had captured a man who broke the rules of death and life. They thought they had locked him in. But maybe he had locked them in with him. The alien prison ship Voidstar was no longer silent. Lights blinked strangely. Walls made of strong metal showed signs of decay. Something was wrong, and everyone could feel it. Subject 13, the human in cell 7 still, sat quietly. He did not eat, drink, or sleep, but somehow he was alive. And worse, something inside the ship was changing. The Immortals felt it in their bones. For the first time in 10,000 years, Vecker, the lead alien scientist, called for a special test. "We need to run Experiment 7B, he said. "We must learn what he is." "But that test is dangerous," said a nervous assistant. "It was made for strong creatures. It could destroy the subject." "I don't think he'll even notice," Vecker replied. Experiment 7B was simple. Raise the temperature to 3,000 degrees inside the chamber. Then drop the air pressure. Release nerve gas. Finally, send psychic waves to test his mind. The test had killed monsters from the dark systems. Even machines couldn't survive. But Subject 13, he didn't move. Not once. The room burned hot. Gas filled the air, and psychic weapons attacked his brain. Still, nothing. He only looked at the camera, calm, cold. "Alive. We failed," one alien said. "He's immune to everything." "He's more than immune," Vecker whispered. "He's waiting for what? I don't know." Later that night, one of the security guards walked to the prison deck. His name was Jorak, and he had served the Immortal Guard for 500 years. He stopped in front of Subject 13's cell. "You're not so special," Jorak said, trying to sound brave. The human looked at him, one simple look, and Jorak dropped his weapon. He clutched his chest, his eyes turned white. He gasped. And aged in just seconds, Jorak's hair turned gray, his skin wrinkled. His muscles collapsed. He screamed once and then turned to dust. Alarms screamed through. Void Star, alert, first confirmed immortal death. In 7,000 years, panic spread among the crew. "He didn't touch him," one shouted. "How did he kill him?" Another cried. Vecker watched the footage over and over. There was no weapon, no contact, just a look. "What kind of power is this?" Vecker whispered. They decided to block the cameras in Subject 13's cell. No one would watch him again. Remember? More eye contact. 2 dangerous guards wore blind helmets now. Even the AI was told to avoid. Eye scans, but it was already too late. The virus had begun. A strange signal moved through the ship's systems. Soft whisper in an old language. First, no one could understand it. Then the translators found the meaning. "He is the end." "Where is this coming from?" the engineer asked. From inside, the AI answered. "From the human, but how? He has no device." "He is the device." More systems failed. Doors opened and closed on their own. Lights flickered like dying stars. The Immortals felt something new. Fear, real, shaking fear. They had never aged, never died, never cried, but now. They didn't feel safe in the next meeting. The crew discussed one thing. "Kill the human. He's too dangerous," said the commander. "But how?" Vecker asked. "Nothing hurts him. Open the cell. Use quantum bombs." Vecker shook his head. "He wants us to open it. That's the trap." "Then what do we do?" Vecker looked tired. "We study him fast, before we're all dead." Inside his cell, Subject 13 finally stood up. It was the first time he moved in days. He walked to the wall and placed his hand on the metal. The wall cracked. No force. Just a touch. The whisper grew louder in the AI systems. "Death is balance." Void Star, the prison ship of gods, was now the cage of a monster. But maybe he wasn't the monster. Maybe he was the answer to one. The Immortal High Council sat in silence. Their galaxy-spanning empire was built on power, science, and endless life. But now that foundation was cracking. On the screen in front of them, they saw the same words repeated across hundreds of signals from the ship Void Star. "He is coming." A human, a prisoner, a myth, and now, a nightmare. Back on Void Star, the crew was dying. One by one, ancient beings turned to dust. Guards, scientists, engineers, no one was safe. Subject 13 never touched them. He never spoke to them. But his presence, his very existence, was killing them slowly, and still. No one understood what he truly was. Scientist Vecker, tired and shaking, opened one final locked file. It was buried deep in the Empire's secret memory banks. Top secret, human weapon program date. 500. Earth years ago, codename, Human Reaper. Vicker read each line, his breath frozen. Earth was dying. Humanity had lost too many to alien experiments. The Immortals had taken millions for study. In secret, Earth's governments created a last option. A man, not born, not cloned, but built. He would be the cure to immortality, living key to return death to those who stole it. Not a killer of bodies, a killer of time. Vecker stared at the document, his voice cracked. He's not just human, he's a weapon. A virus in human form. Ah! Another alien behind him said, then we must end him now. Before he reaches the homeworld. But he was never meant to stay in prison, Vecker whispered. This ship wasn't his cage, it was his delivery system. Subject 13 stood inside his cell, still calm. But now, the force fields around him began to flicker. Energy barriers meant to hold black hole. Creatures started to fail, one by one. Snap, snap, snap. The cell door slid open. Subject 13 took his first step, and the ship shook. The last group of Immortals, just 9 now, stood ready. They wore armor made of starlight and carried weapons that had destroyed entire worlds. They waited in the hallway. Subject 13 walked toward them. One alien shouted, "Stop!" He didn't. They fired. A blast of pure energy hit him enough to erase. Mountain smoke filled the hallway. But when it cleared, he was still standing, untouched, unboated. He looked at them. One blink, and 4 of them aged 10,000 years. In a second, they crumbled into dust. Vecker screamed into the ship's intercom. Evacuate! Get out of Void Star! He can't be stopped! It was too late. Subject 13 was walking toward the control center. Each step turned lights to darkness. Each breath aged. Metal, each look broke minds. He entered the main chamber. Only Vecker remained. The scientist fell to his knees. Why are you doing this? Vecker cried. He only wanted to live. Subject 13 looked at him and spoke for the first time in days. You stole time from others? I am here to return it. Vecker coughed. His skin cracked. Is there any way to stop this? Subject 13 leaned close. Yes, let death in, like you were supposed to. Vecker nodded slowly and smiled. For the first time in his long life. Then he turned to dust. Subject 13 placed a hand on the ship's core. A final signal was sent to the Immortal Empire. Only 2 words. I'm coming. Void Star exploded near the dead star. But Subject 13 was already gone. He had never needed a ship. He only needed time, and now. The galaxy was full of it. The alien homeworld Zarian was known as the crown of the galaxy. A planet full of shining towers, floating cities, and skies that never turned dark. Here, no one feared death. No one felt pain. No one aged, because they were immortals. But today, that peace cracked. A message echoed in every system, every tower, every mind. I'm coming. The Void Star had vanished near a dead star. The Immortal Empire believed the ship was lost, maybe to a reactor failure. But those who saw the final signal knew the truth. Subject 13, the Human Reaper, was alive and he was free. Back on Zarian. The High Command went into panic. Thousands of elite guards were called to the capital. AI systems were shut down. Every gate was locked. But nothing stopped the whispers. Soft voices in ancient human language floated. In the air, he walks. He remembers. He returns time. No one knew how the signal reached Exorion. There were no ships, no transmissions, no path, and yet the fear grew. Inside a vault far below the surface, an old General Serrano locked. Forgotten room inside was a metal coffin sealed in 7 layers. Open it, he ordered. A young scientist hesitated. This was never meant to be used again. I don't care, Saran replied. We made him. Now we face him. Inside the coffin was an ancient weapon built by the Immortals during their war with early humans. A soul cannon. It didn't destroy flesh. It burned memory, identity, and time itself. the only weapon they believed could stop Subject 13. But even as they prepared for war, he was already there. A blast of wind hit the outer defenses of Zarian, yet no ships had entered, no alarms had sounded. Guards stood, confused, until they saw the dust. Not just on the ground, falling from the sky, like ash from a dying world. In the capital city, time began to break. Streetlights flickered between past and future. Buildings cracked, then healed, then cracked again. Some aliens aged 50 years in seconds, then returned to normal. Others just faded without a sound, without a scream. Subject 13 had arrived, but no one saw him. He walked like a shadow, like a forgotten promise, like the final hour in the center of. Zarian stood the Hall of Forever, the tallest tower in the Empire inside. The High Council gathered and trembled. "How did he reach us?" one asked. "No ships moved. No jump points activated." "He doesn't need machines," said a voice behind them. They turned. Subject 13 stood at the entrance.com. Silent, the guards raised their weapons, but their hands aged. Bones cracking, they dropped their guns and dropped to the floor. One council member begged, "What do you want?" Subject 13 walked forward. "Balance. Justice. Right. Time returned to the ones you stole it from." The council fell to their knees. "Then kill us quickly." Subject 13 shook his head. "No, you will feel what you made others feel. You will live. With time." Suddenly, the lights shattered. The building groaned. Subject 13 placed one hand on the ground and across the planet. The immortal Cortho machine that gave eternal life to their species began to fail. Thousands of years of stolen life. People of Zarian looked up. They saw the stars shift, the air grow cold, and for the first time in forever, they felt time. Subject 13 turned away from the hall. His job wasn't done. There were more worlds, more lies, more time to return. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He walked, and the galaxy changed behind him. The alien prison ship Voidstar was falling apart, slowly, silently. But no one outside knew it yet. Inside, the Immortals were terrified. Subject 13. The human prisoner had not broken walls or attacked anyone. He simply sat, looked, and waited. But still, aliens were dying. The death of Jorak, the guard who turned to dust after just one look, had shocked everyone. Immortals were not supposed to die. Not from time, not from sickness, and definitely not from a human. Now strange things were happening all over the ship. System check failed. The ship's AI said. "Explain," said Scientist Vecker, now pale and shaking. "Strange signal is growing stronger," the AI replied. "It moves through wires, through light, through thought." "What signal?" Vecker asked. The screen turned black. Then white text appeared. "The whisper will grow." In the ship's lab, young alien scientists worked non-stop. They scanned the air, checked the power lines, and tested the cell's radiation. They found nothing physical, but the machines were picking up sound. A tiny, quiet whisper, one that never stopped. "Can you hear it?" One alien asked. Another nodded slowly. "Yes, like someone speaking, from inside my mind." They played the whisper through speakers. It was hard to understand, but after hours of decoding, the words became clear. Time was stolen. Now, time will return. The aliens didn't understand, but Subject 13 did. He smiled in his cell, just a small, knowing smile. Vecker made a report to the High Command on the Immortal homeworld. "This human is not just a soldier," he said. "He is something else. A virus, not of blood, but of mind." "You saying he is spreading this curse?" asked the leader through the hologram. "Yes," Vecker said, "not with hands. With thought. With presence. With time." "You're not making sense, Vecker. I wish I wasn't." That same night, another alien died. She was just 300 years old, child by immortal standards. She worked in the engine room, no contact with the human. But she began to hear whispers. Her skin wrinkled. Her heart slowed. Within an hour, she turned into ash. No one had touched her. Subject 13 never left his cell. Still, she died. Immortals believed the truth. The whisper was real, and it was spreading. They gave it a name. The whisper virus. It didn't travel through air. Not through food, not through water. It moved through consciousness. Once you heard it, you couldn't unhear it. Once you understood it, time returned to you. And immortals were never meant to feel time. They were designed to live forever now. They were breaking in secret files. Vecker found something shocking. Thousands of years ago, before they became immortal, the alien race had used stolen technology, taken from ancient human ruins. Yes, human. The immortals had found a device on a long-dead human world. A device that stopped aging, stopped pain, stopped death. They used it on themselves and became gods. But they didn't create immortality. They stole it. Vecker's hands shook. We weren't born immortal. We cheated the system. Now the system was correcting itself. Subject 13 wasn't just a human. He was a response, a balance, a whisper in the mind of the galaxy. He was time's revenge. Back in the control room, the ship's lights failed again. Subject 13 stood in the darkness. No fear in his eyes. Only calm, he whispered softly only. The cameras heard it. Your time is over. The whisper virus moved faster. Now the crew had only one choice: kill the human. Before the whisper reached the stars, the immortal ship Void Star was dying slowly. It's not from fire or war, but from truth. The truth was a whisper. A virus. A human. Subject 13 still stood in his cell, silent, motionless. But the damage he caused spread everywhere. Each hour, another alien aged. Another died, and now. The immortals were afraid of a word they never believed in. Time. Vecker sat alone in the archive room, reading old files marked classified. Before immortality, these records had not been opened in over 9,000 years. Inside, he found the truth of their race. They were not born. It's immortal. They were not chosen by the universe. They had stolen their gift a long time ago. The alien race had discovered a dead human world. On it, buried deep in stone, was an ancient machine. It had no name. But its power was clear. It could stop time within the body. No aging, no sickness, no decay. The aliens called it Project Eternus. They used it. They fed its code into their DNA. They made themselves immortal, but they ignored the warnings. The humans who created it had written one line in a dead language. Take our time. We'll take you back. Vecker's hands trembled as he read it. They hadn't just stolen technology. They had stolen life itself. And now, something had come to take it back. Subject 13 wasn't just a human prisoner. He was the response, a creation of Earth's ancient science, a living answer to immortality. Wherever he walked. Time returned. Vecker called an emergency meeting. This is no longer a science project, he told the others. We have awakened something we cannot control. Then destroy him, the commander shouted. Use the star bomb. Erase this part of the galaxy, Vecker said. If we kill him now, the whisper virus might escape into the stars. We must understand him first. Maybe contain him. Another alien stood. Contain half the crew is dead. The rest are aging every hour. Still, no one had the courage to enter the cell. No one dared to speak to him. Even the ship's AI had gone silent in the prison deck. Subject 13 moved again. He walked to the wall and touched the corner. The metal cracked, told and rusted, not from heat, not from force, from time. He whispered one word, too quiet for most to hear, but Vecker heard it through a hidden mic. Thieves. That word hit Vecker like a knife. He looked around the ship once. Clean and perfect, now dark, broken, and cold. They had stolen life, and now life was correcting the mistake. A final test was planned. Vecker chose 3 old immortal leaders. Strong minds, no fear. They were placed in a chamber near Subject 13's cell. But before the test began, one of them collapsed. No pain, no warning. She simply turned to dust. The others screamed. We didn't even look at him. Becker understood. You don't have to look at him anymore, he said. He's inside us now. Subject 13 was no longer a man. He was a field, a frequency, an echo of death, turned. Becker made one final note in his report. We were never immortal. We were only hiding, and he is the one who opens the door. That night, ship's engines failed. The Void Star drifted into the pull of the dead star nearby. Subject 13 looked up for the first time in hours. His eyes glowed slightly, not with power, but with truth. Far away, on the immortal homeworld, strange whispers began to appear in their AI systems. 3 words repeated in thousands of voices. He is coming. In the far edges of the galaxy, the world of Earth had become quiet. No ships flew from its skies. No signals left its surface. But deep underground they remembered, the people of Earth never forgot the day the Immortals came. Thousands of alien ships appeared in the sky. They spoke of peace, knowledge, trade. Then they took millions of humans, families, scientists, children, gone for years. Earth cried out to the stars, but no one answered. The Immortals had erased all records of Earth's pain. In their perfect empire, Earth was just a failed world, a place to harvest bodies and study death. But Earth did not die. It changed. It planned. In a secret base under the Arctic ice. A woman sat before a screen. Her name was Dr. Kira Solis, last living scientist from Project Reaper. She watched the galactic news feed. Alien cities were crumbling. Immortal temples were falling. And everywhere, there was only one name. Subject 13 has arrived. The human Reaper walks. Time is broken, she smiled. Is the signal ready? She asked. A technician nodded. Yes, ma'am. Broadcasting now. The screen lit up with a glowing symbol, an old human logo. Forgotten by the stars. It was the sign of Earth United Defense. Across the galaxy, on dying immortal worlds, the message played. To those who called us weak, to those who stole our children, to those who feared death so much they stole time itself. We forgot who we are. We are human, and humans don't forget. Subject 13 is not your punishment. He is our memory, our answer. Earth remembers. On Zarian, the immortal homeworld, survivors watched in silence. They had ruled for thousands of years, and now, one human had broken their empire. Not with weapons, not with ships, with truth. Subject 13 continued to walk. World by world, he arrived without warning. Temples aged into sand. Immortal bodies became dust. Not in rage, not in hate, but in justice. The galaxy had always feared Earth's anger. They had never considered Earth's patience. In a council meeting on a distant immortal colony, a leader asked, "Why now? Why wait hundreds of years?" A voice answered from the shadows. Subject 13 had arrived, because revenge takes time, and time was finally theirs again. On Earth, celebrations began. The skies filled with light. The people cheered, not because they loved death, but because they had finally been seen. The galaxy had ignored them now. It would never forget them again. Back in the Arctic base, Dr. Solis watched her screen. Will he return to us? Soldier asked. Solis shook her head. No, he's not ours anymore. He belongs to the stars now. Above her, far across space, Subject 13 stood on a mountain of an old immortal world. He looked up at the stars, so many still untouched. He whispered softly, "I remember." And then he vanished again. The stars were quiet now. Across the galaxy, the immortal cities had turned into ruins. Their perfect white towers were broken. Their crystal lights had faded. Their eternal gardens had turned to ash. The empire that once ruled for 10,000 years was gone, and one name was left behind in every corner of space. Subject 13. No one knew. Where he would appear next, he came like a ghost. No ships, no armies, just a man, a silent figure, a shadow of justice, a whisper of time. The last immortal world was DEYR on -9. It floated near the edge of the galaxy, protected by powerful shields in deep black space. The few immortals who had survived the fall of Zarian lived there now hiding, afraid, hoping he would forget, but Subject 13 did not forget. Humans never forget the immortal Emperor. The last of the original creators of Project Eternus stood in a dark throne room. His once glowing eyes were dim, his skin, now old, sagged. He looked at the broken mirror in front of him. For the first time in his long life, he saw wrinkles on his face. He whispered, "I don't want to die." Behind him, a sound of footsteps, soft, calm, steady. The Emperor froze. He didn't turn. He didn't speak. He already knew who it was. Subject 13 walked slowly into the chamber. No light followed him. Only silence. He stood before the Emperor, still quiet. The Immortal spoke, voice shaking. "Why did you do this?" Subject 13 looked into his eyes. "Because death belongs to everyone." The Emperor fell to his knees. "I created life without end. I ended suffering. I ended fear." "Why is that wrong?" Subject 13 answered. "Because you ended choice. You ended balance. You turned life into a prison." The Emperor cried. He didn't beg. He knew it wouldn't matter. Subject 13 stepped forward. He placed his hand on the Emperor's chest. A golden light flowed between them. Time returned, and the Emperor closed his eyes. With a soft breath outside, the last immortal tower collapsed. The wind carried dust into the stars. A chapter of history ended. No fire, no war, just a breath. Far away, Earth watched. In cities once full of fear, people stood together, looking up, smiling. They had waited hundreds of years for justice, and now it had come. Not through armies, but through one man, a symbol, a message. Back on Dara 9, Subject 13 walked out into the night. He looked at the stars. The galaxy was quiet. At peace, he sat on a rock at the edge of a cliff. He closed his eyes. No words, no movement, only time. The wind blew softly, and in that moment, Subject 13 took his last breath. His mission was complete, his purpose fulfilled. He faded. Like dust in the wind, the galaxy would speak of him forever. Not as a killer, not as a monster, but as a reminder that time must be respected, that death is not the enemy, and that humans never forget.